Hi guys, so Nigel Farage has finally released his immigration plan. It was supposed to be out in April, but maybe got lost in the post or something. Now, GB News responded to it, laying out some of the main points and some reaction from its audience, but I'll go through some of the finer detail in just a moment. But first, let's have a listen to this report.
Now, Nigel Farage has unveiled reforms planned to end the migrant crisis. So, we all ready for it? Right? A reform government would arrest all small boat arrivals and detain them on disused military bases until they're deported. He says the aim of this legislation is mass deportations. Fair enough. He's pledged to put on 5 deportation flights a day, not a week, as I said earlier, a day. And he will sign return deals with countries including Afghanistan and Eritrea, which are 2 of the top 5 countries where people are coming in on small boats, certainly in the last year anyway. They're going to use British overseas territories like the Ascension Island to house migrants if they need to. And to do all this, the reform leader says that the UK would have to leave the ECHR. So he is, I think we kind of knew that bit anyway, but he's definitely pledging to leave the ECHR. And Nigel Farage's comments come just a day after Sir Keir Starmer actually made history. For all the wrong reasons. More than 111,000 people applied for asylum in the first year of Keir Starmer's premiership. That is a new record. There were 49,000 illegal arrivals over that same period, which is an increase of 27%. And we can add a few thousand more on top of that, I think, now that we're in August, because those figures ended in July. Channel migrants account for 88% of those illegal entrants. So, you know, if we solve the Channel migrant crisis, we'd knock it down by 88%, realistically. So there we go. Those are the kind of facts and figures for you. I'll go straight to my audience if that's all right. Sir, I appreciate we've just landed Nigel Farage's legal immigration plan on you. But
yeah, thanks for that.
First, yeah, you're right, mate. At first hearing, what's your gut feeling about that?
Well, the gut feeling is hopefully it works. Hopefully it happens, because a lot of times we get politicians tell you one thing. He's got 4 years before he's going to be able to deliver. So let's hope in the next 4 years this Labour lot realise that their ideology just sucks, really. And they've got to be replaced, because this country's near enough finished now.
OK, good. Well.
Okay. All right, so let's go through some of the detail. The reaction was wonderful, wasn't it? Okay, this is from Stephen Swinford, who is a political editor at the Times. So he posted this on social media. Hopefully you can see it. The first one is Nigel Farage unveils his blueprint for the mass deportation of hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers who came to the UK in small boats. All those who come to the UK in small boats will be arrested and detained on disused military bases. They will be barred from leaving until deportation. So, okay, which military bases? Now, there's a point also I want to raise throughout this. Nigel Farage says that this will cost just £10 billion over 5 years. So that's £2 billion a year. £2 billion a year. So keep that number in your head as we discuss all of this. So he's going to reopen military bases and make them fit for purpose. So the Conservatives tried to do this, but it was a disaster. And there were also protests outside these military bases by people who didn't want the asylum seekers in them. So how is Nigel Farage going to deal with protests by people, concerned residents, near these military bases? You know, first of all, you have to fix them up. You have to find them, fix them up, refurbish them, make them fit for purpose, and then also deal with potential protests outside them. Then it goes on to say reform will seek to sign return deals with countries including Afghanistan and Eritrea, despite their human rights records. Okay, Afghanistan is now run by the Taliban. So Nigel Farage would attempt to do a deal with the Taliban to send people back to Afghanistan. Just how insane is that? At the moment, you can't send people to Afghanistan because the Taliban would not allow you to send people there. So Nigel Farage would do a deal with the Taliban. And remember, the people who are leaving Afghanistan are fleeing persecution from the Taliban, which most people around the world would understand is justified. But for Nigel Farage, no, he doesn't care. He's going to send people back into the arms of the Taliban. Okay. I think there'll be significant pushback there. There's also the House of Lords to remember. He would have to get all this through the House of Lords. And there's the Supreme Court. Would the Supreme Court allow Nigel Farage to send people to Afghanistan and Eritrea? Because remember, when the Conservatives were trying to send people to Rwanda, the Supreme Court said you can't because it's unsafe. So what is Farage going to do about that? Excuse me. It goes on to say, Farage says reform will charter 5 flights a day with an RAF Voyager on standby. Okay, flights to where? We don't know yet. You can talk big, and of course he's going to be talking big continually because, as I keep saying, he's a heckler sitting on the sidelines saying, I would do it better. British overseas territories such as the Ascension Island would be used as a fallback to accommodate migrants. Remember, the money, £2 billion a year. And he wants to use the Ascension Islands. Now, people have complained about this before. The Tories were talking about sending people there as well. But you'd need to build infrastructure there. There is no infrastructure to house asylum seekers. So you'd need to send people there to build the infrastructure. And you'd also have to build infrastructure for the workers who are going to be building the infrastructure. And he's going to do all of this, including other stuff, for £2 billion a year. Okay. Reform will seek to sign deals with third countries like Rwanda and Albania. Once again, see above. Rwanda, with Albania, it may be possible to do a deal. But the people you're going to be sending to Albania are Albanians. The people you're going to be sending to Rwanda are people from Rwanda. Now, if you want to do a deal like the Tories did, well, we saw the problems with that. Reform will introduce new criminal offences for those attempting to return to the UK. Okay, once again, you'll have to get all of this through Parliament and through the House of Lords. Farage plans have 3 parts. Leave the ECHR and derogate from international agreements, including UN conventions against torture. Bring in a British Bill of Rights. Introduce the illegal immigration mass deportation bill. Now, when it comes to the ECHR, I've complained about this before. What happens to the Good Friday Agreement? But of course, leaving the ECHR would take rights away from British people. So it's, of course, like the Tories, we need to take rights away from British people in order to punish a few asylum seekers. And remember, asylum seekers make up about 5% of all immigration. So Farage say we need to strip away rights protecting British people in order to punish a very small minority, 5% of asylum migrants. Reform plans to... so this is the wonderful line. Reform says its plans will cost £10 billion over 5 years. It claims it will ultimately save the taxpayer money. So think about it. So he wants to reopen... This is what we've seen so far. Reopen disused army bases. He wants to send people to the Ascension Island. He wants to beef up security, all of these things. Increase flights, and all of this is going to cost just £2 billion a year. Plans would face significant legal, political and practical obstacles, as we've seen before. Farage argues that it's necessary to deal with the massive crisis posed by illegal migration. It doesn't pose a massive crisis. It's a manufactured crisis. It benefits him. The Tories think it benefits them. No, it benefits Reform UK. The more we're talking about it, the more the media focus on this, the more it helps Reform. Pressed on what he would do if someone sent to Afghanistan was tortured or killed, Farage said, I'm really sorry, but we can't be responsible for everything that happens in the whole of the world. Who is our priority? So, this is a question for the so-called Christians in Britain who are backing Reform UK and the Conservatives and constantly rant and rave about illegal migrants and asylum seekers. If there are Christians coming from Muslim countries that they are persecuted in, Nigel Farage is willing to send those Christians back. What's your take on that? Are you happy with that? Are you happy with anyone who claims to be humanitarian in any way? Are you happy with Nigel Farage deporting people who have fled the Taliban back to Afghanistan? So this is his plan. Is it going to work? Probably not. There's nothing really there to work with. But as I keep saying, this is about him standing on the sidelines heckling, saying to the government or the other political parties, you're doing it wrong, I would do it better. And that's all he has to do in order to maintain support within his party and maybe win over a few people who are not happy with the Conservative Party when it comes to immigration. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.